Hello and welcome to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game.
Really?
Yeah, really. Let's meet the panel.
I'm Larry.
I'm Jackie.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Josh.
Feed me.
You've had enough food. What are we talking about today, Breedy Fromage?
A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner.
Ooh. I guess somebody's going to be having themselves a good time.
I love Victorian Gothic literature. Actually, Southern Victorian Gothic literature, if you're going to be technical about it.
Man, it's a lot of hyphens.
I love it. It's so good. It's just okay.
Okay, Jackie, since you're the most excited among the four of us, do you want to bring up the first topic of discussion?
Okay, the first topic is, how do we feel about the chronological order in which Faulkner writes this? Like, he does it in a series of flashbacks, and then he comes back to everything. Like, you begin with everyone, smelling everything that's wrong with Miss Emily's house. And then next thing you get flashbacks of, it's pretty much all you know about Miss Emily is a gossip that was told by everyone around, like, oh, she spent all this time with Homer, this is what we remember. Her father was a really big influence. And then you go right back to the present to, this is what happened in our house.
It probably comes down to the order of, instead of the chronological order, it's the order of information. We start by not knowing as much. Then we know a little bit more. Then a little bit more than that. By the end, we have a general idea, we have a complete idea of what Miss Emily Gerson stood for and what exactly, how she had died, and the whole circumstance, just everything.
Yeah, it kind of comes in like the tide, I guess. It's just like one wave after another until you get to the point where, the whole thing is underwater, or maybe that's not the best analogy.
Yeah.
But it's like you were saying, Josh. Like, it starts off like where we don't know so much.
Then
So the scenes are kind of, I guess, just kind of chosen based on based on what Faulkner wants us to know and when.
Then we get the curveball when she buys the rat poison, and then we learn about Homer, and that's when we learn about the end of her life.
Yes, Charlie?
Okay. I do remember that back then, especially in here, you had to, if you wanted poison, you had to reveal why you wanted to use it. But she doesn't, but she gets it anyway. How did she get away with that? Were there any loopholes?
Well, think about it. Let's say that you're working in a store, you're working at a Home Depot, and some woman comes up and says, okay, I want this rat poison. Why? I just want it. Do you really want to deal with a pissed off woman who wants rat poison? Be honest. Do you want to deal with that?
What if I'm packing heat?
No.
In addition, they were also told to care for her after her father's death.
Okay.
They were told to look after her, do as she wishes.
Gotcha.
And if you're gonna peeve off any woman, it's definitely not going to be Emily.
Yeah. And plus you also have to remember, like, the whole social structure of society. She was born into money. She already had, like, this higher status.
She doesn't even have to pay any tax.
Yeah, like, she has a higher status. You're, like, once again, another scenario. Let's say that Kim Kardashian, because the only name coming to my head because I hate her. She comes in, and then she's like, okay, I want this. Are you going to be like, oh, no, you can't have that? No, you're going to be like, oh, my God, okay, here you go, bye.
You only have 75 pairs of those. You have 76.
I don't know if I would do that, and I'm definitely not dealing with Kanye.
The town abides her at every juncture, right? Like in the beginning when the taxmen come to talk to her about paying taxes. She's like, I'm not paying taxes. Go talk to, what's his name?
The general.
Right.
Who's been dead for like 20 years.
And they don't even say anything. They're just like, oh, okay, Miss Emily. And then they leave. And you know what I mean? Or she has, the servant show them out. The whole thing.
Toby?
Is that his name?
I think his name's Toby. Yeah, Toby.
Yeah, so I don't know. And then there's other, like when the house starts to stink, they're like they rather than confront her about it, they'd rather trespass onto her property, sneak around, and actually break the law. It's almost like breaking the law is more acceptable to them than offending a woman.
Well, it's not even that. I feel like the town also kind of respects but reveres her as well because she has become, that old crone in the house. She used to give painting lessons. Now no one wants to go there. No one even bothers.
I don't know.
So she's just become, it's not even that she's still a person. She's just become a fixture in society.
Mm-hmm. That pretty much makes sense to the fact that she's blending in. As she begins to age, it's just a subject of tolerance, and not a granted, it all begins with them saying that, or it begins with them having to tend to her because she did have such a strong connection. But now it's just, the action still remains, but the reason remains a bit blurred.
Or even changes. It's almost as if the town kind of, they obviously gossip about her a lot. Because that's pretty much, the entire narrative of the play is just conjecture based on what people have seen or heard or that. It's not even written from the perspective of one person. It's one person speaking on behalf of the entire town. It's we did this and we did that.
You also
the men
have to
of the town did
remember,
this, and
though.
the women in the town did that.
You have to remember, another reason why they're probably feeling so bad for her, everyone knows how protective her father was. Like they say once her father died, that's when she began, go out and do everything and ride around and, start seeing Homer because they said that her father chased away any suitors.
Yeah.
So do you think that do you think that she had a Stockholm syndrome type of thing? So when her father died, she was like, oh my God, what do I do? And just latched on to the next man in her life. And then when he started to deny her, it was like she was losing her father all over again. So that's why she kills him in the end, so that she can always have him.
The thing I wanted to bring up was Homer and his character. Of course, we know that Miss Emily was very mysterious. We also have the mystery of Homer Barron. How did you see him? Did you see him as being a homosexual character?
Well, they tell you in the story, the townspeople say, oh, well, we did see him riding around with Miss Emily and everything, but then you saw him hanging out with the young gentleman at the Elks Lodge or whatnot. So, I can understand him wanting to hang out with
Very much
males
like
and
Walt
everything.
Whitman.
Exactly like Walt Whitman. Oh my goodness. But the whole thing, I did maybe see him as a homosexual because, I don't know, usually when people categorize homosexuals like, oh, they have to be very feminine, they also have, the very burly, the very overly masculine, and that's what I thought that Homer was being, a little overly masculine in every other aspect of his life except for when he hung out with younger gentlemen.
That's the only thing you have to fall under is having sexual admiration for the same gender. And in his point of time, he would. I highlighted the fact that in part 4, it is said that then we said she will persuade him yet because Homer himself had remarked he liked men. And it was known that he drank with the younger men in the Elks Club, that he was not a marrying man. At that last point, the fact that he's not a marrying man means that either you're not interested in relationship, or you are interested with people within your gender, which was not accepted back then.
Although, if that was the rumor going around town there, based on what you just read, I don't know. It doesn't seem like the town is repelled in any way, or it's just very matter-of-factly handled within the context of the story there. It's not, he was a disgusting homosexual or anything like that.
No, I think the whole thing was that everyone knew what was going on. Okay, this is what happened, but we really didn't care. And then also think about the time period when it initially happened. Right now we're hearing this years later because they're telling the story. The town people are saying, this is what happened all these years ago. Because So
But
maybe,
even-
you know,
but
in
even
that time
his
that lasts.
But even in his time, he was a hit. It talks about how in the market, like, there'd always be a crowd of people around. You'd all be laughing, and you'd be at the center, you know, making the jokes.
He made it to the most comfortable point that you could possibly make it. And that's
Yeah.
the fact that he was not a marrying man. If you go any further, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. For instance, Oscar Wilde got himself locked up because of sodomy.
Well, he was a wild guy.
That's true.
And he was quite a magnificent one.
Oh my gosh, he was wonderful.
But
Thank you.
coming back to Homer, Homer was very much likable, but he was subject to gossip. He was subject to the discussions of people that have a lot of time on their hands and
Clearly.
are willing to make judgments. Yes,
You know-
Mr. Charlie?
Okay, I'm guessing if they had like text messaging back then, that was my phone. Right? If they had text messaging back then, do you think this story would have been even worse with the gossip?
I believe so, but then I believe that a lot of,
LOL, Homer got with, so and so, and I mean, really, I don't know. It's
I
just a
don't know
thought.
either. It's an interesting question. I don't know.
I mean,
It would definitely wouldn't be any better.
No, yeah.
It might have been a little bit more fragmented. Maybe not everybody would know every detail, the way that it happens here, where everybody seems to
Yeah.
know everything. It might be.
They say the world today the world is getting smaller because we're all cute little gadgets.
Reminds me of a Facebook meme that somebody put, the guy playing with his, a little kid playing with the soccer ball, and every other kid is on the bench texting
Mhm.
on a smartphone.
And also, the point that I wanted to also make about the gossip aspect is how insufficient it is. Because up to a point, everything that they know about Emily is based on gossip. Until the point where they go to the funeral and they open up the door to that one room and find, the body of, what's his name?
Homer with the
Thank you.
one strand of gray hair lying on the pillow that had her indentation in it. Oh god.
This is so dark.
Oh, it's so beautiful. So
Right?
sorry.
Like, I mean, they said, oh yeah, she's nuts, she's crazy, she doesn't, they just assume Homer left because nobody actually saw him leave, obviously, because he didn't. But they knew he was there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the gossip did not come anywhere
Sorry.
near to penetrating just how disturbed that woman really was. That's what I took away.
Anybody
Hi.
have some final thoughts?
Well,
It's very dark.
Yes, I just want to talk about how, like, well, not even messed up, but how morbid the ending is. Like, they never outright say that she was sleeping with the dead corpse of Homer, but just the fact that it has her one gray hair and the indentation next to the dead body, they leave that so open-ended for the reader to interpret. And I just love how Faulkner does that. How do you guys feel about it?
That could mean anything. That's a kind of story that leaves you thinking beyond the page, and whether good or bad, that's something that's worth having.
It's something that's not going to be going out of my mind.
But
for
it
a
also
while.
it throws a curveball in Homer's orientation. It throws a curveball in what Emily's love life, and whether or not there was one.
Well, also, it brought up to me, because I'm a weirdo and this is what I thought. Do you think that, because you realize that Emily's been sleeping with, Homer's dead body for all these years while it's been decomposing, do you think she might have been also a little bit of a necrophiliac? Because she was sleeping with a dead body like that.
That's what makes it creepy. That would be a creepy element too.
Disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, it's creepy. either
Because
way.
it's got to be one or the other.
What?
If Homer,
either she's sleeping.
if Homer's not a marrying man, then she's got to be somebody that likes to sleep with dead people.
Well, I wasn't planning on having dinner tonight, thanks.
Well, I mean, the way that I took it was that she killed him with rat poison.
And then just wanted to, like I said before, how her father had died and then she had no one in her life and Homer's the next person. She kills him, but then stays with him and like pretends that he's alive and like tries to keep him as long as she can. That's why she never let anyone up into that room. That's why she never, told anyone about the smell up there, because in her mind, in her distorted perception, maybe he was still alive, he was still hers, and that's why she fell asleep with him every night, because that became a ritual of, oh, we're in love, oh, let us fall asleep together like a normal married couple, even though he's obviously dead.
Well, how about this too? When her father died, she was in no hurry to tell anybody about that either.
Yeah.
Like, was she going to keep that body?
She was probably in denial because of it, because once again, I brought up the concept of maybe there was a Stockholm syndrome, because he was pretty much her captor. He controlled everything that she did.
Or did she just want
And
a
then
dead
she
body?
returns the paper home.
Good luck. Poor Homer.
I don't know. I love Faulkner though, because he always makes you think. He's good for that.
Definitely got to read some more of him. You have any suggested outlets for finding a rose for Emily?
Usually, Barnes & Noble is a good place to find a rose for Emily, as with all of our books here. You can also find a rose for Emily anywhere online, because that is a very popular story. It's also, if you're in high school, check your English book, because that's where I actually found mine my junior year. So.
I first read it in short story class. That's what I did. Alrighty, thank you for joining us, and be sure to join us next time for another episode of
Literary Gladiators.
Bye.
Till next time, keep reading.